one day was not enough for your Mailbag Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday questions, so we're going to do it again. And is Jon Cooper leaving Tampa? Let's talk about it next on CHGO Blackhawks. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. Those damn squirrels got us again. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Do us a favor, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And if you're checking us out on your favorite podcast app, make sure you're not just listening, but you're also following or subscribed or whatever your specific app calls for. And if you got a few extra seconds for some generosity, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We've got a lot to get to today, including your leftover mailbag questions, a little bit of news in the hockey world. Mario, where would you like to begin?
A couple things of news.
Some things of note
in the hockey world. Yeah, let's go with our main thing today. I think that is a bit of interesting news, because kind of hearing some murmurs of this on social media over the last few days. And then today, a little bit more of a sourced report from, is that Larry Brooks?
Yep.
With the New York Post, covers the Rangers, talking about Jon Cooper potentially leaving the Tampa Bay Lightning, even though he has a 1-year contract extension, and mentioning that could be Jon Cooper, if he's leaving, could be going to run the operation in Utah, whatever that means. So I know we've talked a lot about Jon Cooper, and then once the report from Pierre LeBrun came out a few weeks ago, that he had quietly signed a 1-year extension with Tampa, it was like, well, he's no longer on an expiring deal, so it doesn't seem likely that he would leave Tampa if he's already signed a deal. But now seems like the way the Tampa and Florida series has gone, if a first-round exit is there, maybe Jon Cooper is leaving. If it is only to leave for Utah, then fine, so be it. But if it's, if there's an opportunity for Kyle Davidson to make a phone call, why not?
You should. You might as well. All you can do is say not interested, but at least you did the due diligence of finding out. And this is what we've been talking about with Jon Cooper for some time, especially when we found out, as you mentioned, the LeBrun news about the extension, is if any team is going to pry him away from Tampa, it's going to have to be for a promotion or he gets fired. Right, if they decide like Jon Cooper's a bad coach now, you're fired. That's different. But if he's under contract, it's going to take hockey operations president or whatever you want to name it, something above head coach. And yes, maybe he still coaches the team, but you'd have to put him pretty much in charge and give him full say on roster decisions and drafting and all those sort of things. I don't know if the Hawks are comfortable with that. I don't know if that would mean, if the Hawks were looking to do something like that they would move on from Kyle Davidson, which to me seems a little bit unlikely based on how much they've given him in terms of do what you think is right. They have been hands off.
Yes.
If Kyle Davidson wants to make a trade, make a move, whatever, they let him do it. He's got full control. So I think it's pretty unlikely unless they want to bring in Jon Cooper to overlord over Kyle Davidson. But it just doesn't feel like the kind of thing the Hawks would do. And while it would be awesome to have Jon Cooper as part of things, I do kind of want to see this thing play out a little bit. I think that Davidson has a plan, and I think he's stuck to it pretty well. And the final boxes that remain to be checked are, can you find the right head coach for this team? And can you convince a grade A no doubt, top-tier free agent to come and play here.
Yeah.
Those are the boxes that need to be checked.
If it were to be strictly a coaching change, and Jon Cooper was available or at least open to discussion, he is the top candidate.
100%.
Far beyond,
no doubt.
I would say far beyond Mike Sullivan.
And beyond David Carl.
And
that's
yeah.
Jon Cooper's a whole different level of dude.
Right, exactly. So if it were just to, the wording in the tweet from Larry Brooks saying like to take over the operation in Utah you said it too, makes me also think it's not just a coaching change.
Yeah, take over the operation.
It would be to be maybe the new GM or something. Who knows?
Means Bill Armstrong is out.
Right.
Andre Tournier is out probably. It's probably a fresh slate. You come in, you're the guy. And who knows if that's the case, maybe Cooper's not even behind the bench anymore.
Right, yeah.
And maybe he just says, all right, I'm ready for the next challenge in my career. Now I want to run a team and hire a coach and hire a coaching staff and run a draft. And I think it's a safe bet that he'd probably succeed in that. But I just, if that's the case,
he seems like he's
got like the right place for Chicago.
Right
place, right time.
The fit for Chicago, I don't think would make a lot of sense because basically for what he'd be wanting to do, Cal Davidson would basically either be hiring his replacement or hiring his boss, which I don't know how often that happens because you're not going to just say like, oh, Jon Cooper is now part of our hockey operations staff. He's not alongside Norm McIver or Megan Hunter or Brian Campbell or,
right.
The conglomerate that Davidson, works with. So I just don't know if that is what he's wanting, if that mixes with the Blackhawks. But if it's strictly coaching, absolutely, Gage.
Yeah.
David, even if it is, all signs point to Utah and whatever, you still want to say like, hey, is there anything we can do or anything we could provide you that would change your mind, whether it's money or opportunity or whatever? It's worth a shot if the shot is there to take.
I mean, if the Blackhawks announced today, we get a press release, and if this was to happen, this would certainly be Danny Wirtz doing it, that the Blackhawks have hired Jon Cooper to lead their hockey operations department. Kyle Davidson will now report directly to Jon Cooper. That would be a massive, massive shakeup.
Yeah,
that I don't know
change.
Is really necessary in the front office. And Jon Cooper is a great coach. I know nothing about his ability to manage and draft and trade and those sort of things.
Sure. Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are like, well, Kyle, you don't think Jon Cooper is better than Kyle Davidson? I do at coaching. I have no idea how he does the off ice stuff.
Yeah.
The roster development sort of things. I'm not saying he can't. If I had to bet, I would think he'd be pretty good at it, but I don't know that.
Yeah. I mean,
and no one does.
I mean, given his path that he's taken in coaching, I'm sure he's learned a lot of different things within, the operation staff. It's not strictly, down the line of like X's and O's and that's all he cares about. Like he's been in hockey at so many different levels. He's been successful at so many different levels, worked with so many different people that you'd imagine that network that is so important in hockey, whether you're a coach or in, a front office position, whatever it is, like that network of people, people you have connections with for him seems pretty wide. So I'd imagine if he were to be in that kind of position, he'd be I would imagine he'd be someone who could get things done. And, if it is strictly, he would only leave Tampa if he's leaving on his own, to go to Utah. Utah's in a good spot. Utah's in a good spot to be a team that can take that next step. They are steps ahead of the Blackhawks as far as it goes with rebuild and development and talent acquisition and everything. And now they've gone from Arizona to Utah with a new mindset of ownership and investment and expectation and all that. So going after a guy like Jon Cooper to, take over the reins, that's a big move.
Well, and that makes all the sense in the world for Utah because what we were there for their first game in history. It was very impressive. The crowd was super into it.
Mm-hmm.
We've spoken to people who work for the team now, and it's continued through the entire 82-game season. There's massive enthusiasm, but is Utah a free agent destination? Are guys in the NHL saying, boy, I can't wait to go spend the rest of my career with the Utah Hockey Club? Maybe. It's a great town, and as guys get to play there for the first time and they feel that energy and they get to know the city a little bit, maybe they figure it out and like it. But adding a guy like Jon Cooper, that immediately makes that a more appealing place to sign, because it shows you the thing that Arizona wasn't really ever in position to do, which is go after the big fish at all levels and fully commit to being great. And that is something that would be, I would assume, very appealing for a player.
Yeah, I mean, success brings all that, attraction to a market. I mean, the Utah Jazz were really good at basketball for a number of years against the, in the 90s and everything.
Yeah.
Like, they had a lot of success, and those teams were really solid. They had great players.
That were drafted by them.
Was that
Karl Malone and John Stockton?
Yeah.
And who's the guy? Jeff Hornacek?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we're all drafted by Utah.
Okay.
They weren't
stuck
guys
around.
that sure. No, of course. And I think if you go there, it's a place where, oh God, this is kind of a cool city. Like
I was surprised at what Utah was like, or Salt Lake City was like in the time that we were there. But yeah, I mean, point being, teams that win, whether it's in Chicago or it's in, look at the Hurricanes. Raleigh is not a quote unquote typical hockey market, but they've had sustained success over the years. They've won a Stanley Cup. Like, they have a hockey base there, and they have an operations there, and they've had success. That's where free agents and guys see that they can go and have success. So if Utah becomes a team that has that mentality of, we are going to go for it, be successful, and become a major player in the hockey world, as a market that is going to be throw their hat in the ring to try and win Stanley Cups, like that's going to be attractive to those players. So the mentality of that changes everything, and I think that's where it's shifted in Utah from an outsider perspective, from how things operate in Arizona, as we got to know and pick the brains of our friends over at PHNX over the years. Like, it really, that shift to Utah was way more than just moving a team to a different city. It was completely shifting how they viewed operating that hockey organization.
Yeah, there was a comment in the chat from Brian Magnuson. I don't know if Brian's related to Keith. If so, get him. Let's get some history going. He says Pat Boyle was saying yesterday there was word that Carl was not as convinced about the Hawks' future as much as the Hawks are. I hope that's not the consensus around the league. So I think where Pat's coming from is that's what Elliot Friedman speculated when he updated the news on Monday's 32 Thoughts. And that was Elliot speculating that maybe people around the league don't think as highly of the Hawks rebuild as the Hawks do. That's pretty normal. I mean, there's 31 other teams in the league that we cover, right? But not with the attention we do with the Blackhawks. And I think that's the same, like, coaches and like Mike Sullivan is not familiar with the Blackhawks system. He is not keeping up with Sacha Boisvert and Samuel Savoie and all the people that the Hawks have in their system that are doing well. They're not as committed to it. So yes, their opinion of the Hawks rebuild is probably going to be, hey, they've been bad for some time. It's not going that well. They need to get educated on it. And that's Kyle Davidson's job, is when he gets these candidates in front of him to say, look, I know the NHL product hasn't been good, but look up and down our system here. Look what's coming. Look what's coming in the draft this year. We're going to have at least a top 4 pick. Look at what Frank Nazar's done. Look at what Sam Rinzel and Artem Levshinov have done in a short time. It's the arrows pointing up, and say, oh, okay, well, now that you point this all out and you show me how well these guys are performing at the lower levels, it'll become a more appealing thing. But look, let's not kid ourselves. If you're a top tier head coach, you're looking for an opportunity to win. As you pointed out on, I think it was Monday's show, the average tenure of an NHL coach is 2.4 years.
Yeah.
2.4 years is about when you can imagine the Hawks start contending. These guys want some security, and they know that if they go to Boston or the Rangers or Vancouver, who's further along than Hawks, and Utah, who's further along than Hawks, they'll probably win sooner.
Right.
And that therefore creates some security for themselves. So it is going to be a bit of a task for Kyle Davidson. And that's why we said that's one of the boxes that he needs to check. Can he convince a top-tier coach and top-tier free agent that Chicago is the place they want to be for the foreseeable future? We're going to find out in very short order here. Okay, we got to hit the break zone. Do us a favor. If you've not done it already, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube page as well. We'll be back with your mailbag questions next on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365. And speaking of Bet365, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. If you're a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. And with the NHL early payout offer at Bet365, you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app, use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you're a new customer when you bet $5, win or lose. So sign up. Again, use that code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, in-app only.
And as we all know, finances can be messy and confusing. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Monarch Money acts as your personal CFO, Chief Financial Officer. I don't work in the corporate world. Giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for all of your accounts, investments, and your financial goals. Don't just manage your money. You can start building wealth with 50% off of your first year for our lovely listeners. And we all know that, tracking your spending is difficult. Just in the off season, I'm like, well, I'm spending a lot on gas. Let me start taking the train.
Yeah.
That's something that I needed to know was going to change how I spent money and my finances. Monarch Money and their app is able to help you manage your finances to build the life you actually want. Monarch makes managing money simple and easy for all of our busy lives. You can track your spending, your savings, your investments so effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Monarch Money is a financial tool people actually love. It was named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. So get control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code CHGO at monarchmoney.com for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year with Monarch Money. So go to monarchmoney.com and use that code CHGO.
Yes, do that. All right.
Speaking of Utah.
Go for it.
Oh, you got it.
No, do it.
Speaking of Utah, there was another mammoth development through the interwebs, as many pointed out on their, I believe it was their YouTube account. I think it was their Instagram handle.
Yeah.
They are going to be the Utah Mammoth after long debate and fan voting and putting a name out there that no one knew what it meant.
That's fine.
We finally have an answer. We're going from the Utah Hockey Club to the Utah Mammoth.
It's better than Yeti.
Yeti would have been fun.
It's fine. I don't know.
I still
Mammoth is
my
cool.
vote still was Utah Powder.
I don't like too many with hockey. There might be some confusion. That's a way to get players to sign there.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't use those EA Sports generated logos that they put out. Those look horrible.
It was just so bland.
Yes.
Yeah. It just reeked of like AI generated, like here's what a sports team would be called. What would it look like? And it just seemed like, nah, like just not, I don't know. And I'm not a graphic designer. It's not my passion. But I know that, it can be hard to be like creative sometimes, but I feel like going from, and it's a low bar to go from unnamed team, unnamed hockey club to, an actual team is a low bar to cross. But yeah, Mammoth is fine. The logo, as long as, as long as there's a little bit of creativity, I'm sure when it like finally gets approved and everything, there's going to be the little nuances of like, oh, this is part of Utah's state flag is tucked in the mammoth fur and all that stuff. Like, yeah, there'll be stuff like that. But I'm just happy that they have a name. They have more of an identity. I think the color scheme is going to stay. Hopefully they get maybe a little bit more of a creative jersey, and all the 2024-25 Utah Hockey Club merch will be fun relics for people years down the road.
I'm trying to send this to you, Katie. This there we go. The mock-up is in Slack. It's not the greatest quality, so we might not be able to use it. But some of those, they really do look like I've named my team the Outlaws. I'm going to go through the EA roster of generated images, and there it is. Like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Yeah. I think it doesn't have the punch that like the Kraken had when they revealed their team and the logo, which I think was really great. Ties in with like the nautical area of Seattle. Golden Knights was just kind of random for Vegas, but it's worked. They've really leaned into it, and when again success makes you care less about some of the periphery things. So if Utah goes out and makes the playoffs, like who cares? Like they're going to be, if the Mammoth, go on a tear and have a lot of postseason success, no one's really going to care about their jerseys and logo and all that stuff.
Well, there they are. This is from Top Shelf Threads with a Z on Instagram. That's where I got this image, so I want to give them credit. But that's that
was the Mammoth.
I'll say of those three, the Mammoth is the best one, but they're just kind of really uninspired. Yeah. I also think we could probably stop forcing team names based on the region. There's no Tigers in Detroit. There's no Lions in Detroit, as far as I know. There's no Bears in Chicago or Cubs. Bulls kind of works because of the meatpacking aspect.
Wasn't that a stock exchange thing?
That too, Bulls and Bears.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's why it.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so. But you know what I mean. It's just like
we got zoos.
Sometimes it feels like a little bit forced.
Yeah,
like all right, just find something cool. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
whatever. Mammoth, welcome.
Utah Mammoth. I'm okay with it.
All right.
Yeah.
The other little note I wanted to share too. I saw this and couldn't believe it. Rod Brindamore is the first head coach in NHL history to win at least one series during the playoffs in each of his first 7 seasons behind the bench. So every year he's been the coach, he has won a series in the playoffs. That's incredible.
Really good.
More incredible is he's only been their coach for 7 years.
It
seems so much longer.
When you said like how long has he been there, I said at least 10 years. But no, just you said the 18-19 season.
Yeah,
was his first. Yeah, I mean I think probably because he played there and won a cup, that it feels like maybe he's had the longer connection. But was he not an assistant coach with them before being the head coach?
Perhaps.
I think that might be the case. But yeah, I mean, look, again, mentioned them before, that sustained success. He is one of those guys where
he was, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years as an assistant.
I was going to say I feel like he had been around that organization for a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I think, he's one of those guys that it's just like you see the hockey mind, the personality, the culture, just the tone set with being in Carolina and how they've been able to keep guys there, develop some young talent, keep competitive, attract free agents. Like it's worked there for sustained success. Now, he's never won 3 rounds in the postseason. He's either won 1 or 2. But at this point, I mean, there's a lot of franchises out there that would take sustained at least 1, round win each year. We'll just see if they can roll it into 3. Maybe this is the year that he gets 3 series wins.
And now they've got a new security for Taylor Hall, who signed a 3-year deal today, just over $3 million. So I don't know what Taylor Hall is going to look like 3 years from now, but he's looked good since going to Carolina.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and if you want to invest in a guy that's, came to your organization, seemingly bought in and has worked out, sure, by all means, go for it. It's one less thing to worry about in the offseason for them if they want to, pad some depth and have a guy here that's, inspired by the opportunity to play in the playoffs and have success and not have to be a top guy per se. Good
I enjoyed covering him here. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out. Can we get one in before the break here, Katie? One mailbag question?
I have a question.
Oh, you got one?
The question that's been on everyone's mind in the world this week. Are you taking 100 men or a gorilla?
100 men or so the question I saw, and maybe I'm out of it. I thought it was are 100 men more likely to beat a gorilla or a bear?
That's not how I
Okay, that's the one I saw.
No, I've seen people dig in on the 100 versus
I think 100 men could take down a gorilla.
The trending question is 100 men versus a gorilla.
Versus one gorilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 100 men.
I think the caveat is who are the men? I think is the big thing. Like if it's walk down the street and the first 100 dudes you walk past, that's your group. I think I'm taking the gorilla, but if you can hand select 100 of your most
100 Jake McCabe's,
sure, yeah,
we won't take that many, my friend.
I think I'm going gorilla. I think we as humans overestimate our abilities and underestimate truly what a full in their prime silverback gorilla could do to 100. Like they could just rip through.
Yeah, the first 5 are probably
at least 50
knocked unconscious.
At least 50 men are being ripped in half instantly. You won't even touch the gorilla.
I mean, if you could form a perimeter,
I think if you
everyone attacks it once, you could just overwhelm it with weight, and then you'd have to suffocate it. That's the only way you're going to kill it. You'd have to cover its face so it couldn't breathe anymore.
Silverback gorilla weight. How much does it weigh?
I don't know.
Typically between 300 and 500 pounds.
All right. Same.
Built differently, but yes.
Alex says 100 gorillas versus Ditka. We know the answer to that Ditka, one, my friend.
Yeah. No, I think you also got to factor in the mentality too. That's why I'm saying if you can pick the 100 guys, I'm going with war vets, sure, and people that have been in those life or death scenarios, and also I'll take Brock Lesnar, who's basically a human gorilla himself.
Do you want 100 Bear Grylls type people, or at least what he pretends to be, fully aware, outdoors-ish survivor type guys, or do you want 100 of the biggest, strongest dudes you can find?
I want
because sometimes those big bodybuilder dudes can't fight.
You got to have a mix, because if you throw
you got to be scrappy.
You got to have a mix. You got to have guys that can be fast, stick and move. You got to have your big gorilla men, Eddie Hall, the bodybuilder. And then you got to have people that are just you have to out animalistically think.
All right,
the gorilla. Because if you
50
just if it was
dudes
me
on meth, Jim's looking at me.
See, now you're convincing me because I was gorilla all the way. But if we're talking like psychedelics or weapons, one of the two.
Well, see, weapons change the
convince
whole
me.
thing.
Yeah, it can't be weapons.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting unless it has to be fair. If the humans get weapons, the gorilla gets weapons too.
Is meth not a weapon though?
I think it is. I think you're
kind
right.
of a weapon.
All right, so 100 prime. How many prime Mike Tysons would it take to kill a gorilla?
I think if you take 100 prime Mike Tysons, I think that you'd get the gorilla probably gets through 20 of them, but then it's overwhelmed.
Like, can he punch a gorilla hard enough to concuss it?
Maybe. I mean, a gorilla skull's huge.
Yeah,
and pretty thick, I'd imagine.
There's that dude who does the simulators on, online. I see him all the time. It's like 100 Obi-Wan Kenobis versus like the Confederate Army. And it's like, who wins? It's like usually Obi-Wan Kenobi
I'm
wins.
pulling for Obi-Wan in that.
Yeah,
that
100%.
Scenario, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure we'll figure it out. We got to figure that out.
I still think I'm going gorilla.
100 guys, it's a lot. I got to think about it. This is too important to just willy-nilly throw an opinion out there. And Sarah's in the chat yelling at everyone that we need more likes. And don't make Sarah mad. One angry Sarah could take down 100 gorillas.
Yes.
So do it. Hit that like button or Sarah's coming after each and every one of you individually. She knows where you live. It's on the back end of YouTube. All right, we're back in a moment. Again, yeah, like Sarah said, hit that like button. We'll finally get to your mailbag questions on CHGO Blackhawks, powered by Bet365.
And if 100 guys are not up for the challenge against the gorilla, you'll know that Four Seasons Heating and Air Conditioning is up for the challenge of summer. Is your home air conditioning up for the challenge? If it's not, call our friends at Four Seasons for your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric needs. They've been serving the Chicagoland area for over 50 years. Now is the time to get your air conditioning checked, and Four Seasons' experts are ready to help you with your AC installation, maintenance, and repair. Did you know that 2024 was officially Chicago's hottest year on record?
I did.
With the heat index even reaching 114 degrees last summer. That is too hot and too humid. You need Four Seasons to come in and make sure your AC is ready to go for summer. You can schedule your tune-up today and save $50, and you can enjoy a 1-year no breakdown guarantee, or you can save up to $4,000 on a new comfort system from Four Seasons with new AC units starting at $39 a month and AC furnace combos at $57 a month. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all of their special offers and money-saving coupons. Again, that's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com.
And what are you guys up to this weekend? You want to go to Milwaukee to see the Ice Hogs and Admirals?
Yeah.
Well, you can find those tickets on Game Time, our favorite place to find tickets for our favorite events, concerts, all that jazz. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes it easier to get tickets to see your favorite teams play live, including the Ice Hogs on the road. Or if you want to go out to Rock Vegas, you can do that too. Also on Game Time. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can customize your spot. So if you want to pick the specific section you want, you can do that. You can see, if you've never been to Milwaukee for a hockey game before, use that view from your seat to see exactly what it's going to look like when you watch the game. You want to have those seats like in Utah where a third of the ice is cut off. No, you don't want that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
All right.
Speaking of going to Milwaukee, our Cubs crew is heading to Milwaukee on Saturday. So, yeah, check out allchgo.com/events for all the details on that. They got the pregame show. You got the live show. You can go to the game. It's all happening at the Potawatomi Casino and Hotel again on Saturday, May 3rd. Tomorrow is May.
And May 5th is a draft lottery.
May 5th draft lottery.
And we're going to be back at full strength covering that. Me, you, and Greg.
Yep, we will
be live when the pick's made, and then we'll do a reaction pod right afterwards.
Yeah, it's going to be fun? ? It'll be stressful.
It will be stressful.
But
it is always stressful.
If it's nothing, it's stressful.
If they get 3, are you disappointed?
No.
If they get 4, are you disappointed?
Slightly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I can live with 3. I'd be thrilled with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
4 is going to be a big kick in the nads.
4 would be disappointing, but I think
trade up.
I think knowing where they're at with the draft class and the players that are in the mix of 1 through 4, 5, 6, I'm like happy with any of them, honestly. Like I don't feel like I have just like with the coaching staff search, I'm not dug in on anybody. I'm not dug in on prospect ABC. I'm not dug in on head coach because there's a lot to kind of figure out. And I think my preference would be Michael Misa.
You too.
But I feel like
as of today,
I feel like I'd be happy with, I can be talked into and be happy with any of the top 5, 6 guys.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. By the way, we are very close to 100 likes. We have over 200 people watching. Come on. Let's get over 100 here, please. All right. Now can we go to the mailbag,
yes.
please? All right.
Now that we got the most important question out of the way.
Yes. Go ahead. Katie, do the honors. Yeah.
Yes. Go for it. Surprise.
You have our full trust. All right. Easy Ev.
EV.
Easy. Yeah, it's lowercase, though.
Oh, all right. Sure.
If it was easy EV, it'd be capital E, capital V.
Is this the question?
Yes. How do I say my name? No. Just for fun, hypothetical, presuming Schaefer goes number 1, if the Sharks land number 2 and miss out on the D prospect they need, should the Hawks offer Renzelle for the number 2 pick for the opportunity to get Misa? Could be a win-win for both sides. Renzelle already looks like a top pairing D-man. The Hawks desperately need more offensive firepower.
No.
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 If I'm the Hawks, well, I guess he's saying if the Hawks don't get 1 and the Sharks don't get 2.
No, he's saying if the Sharks land at number 2. So it's Blackhawks aren't number 1 and the Sharks are number 2. So presumably you're saying Hawks would be 3.
Right. No, I'd rather just
you take the guy who you get at 3. No, I'm not giving up Sam Rinzel for.
That's a huge step backwards.
Yeah, no. I think you have a guy that is ahead of his development schedule. It feels like a gift to have a late first round project pick ready to play NHL minutes at 20, 21 years old.
Based on what I saw from, 9 games for Renzelle?
Yeah.
He is as close to untouchable as I am willing to go with any player.
As far as non-Bedardian players?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone is untouchable. If Edmonton calls up and says we're going to give you Draisaitl and McDavid for Bedard, you trade him.
Yeah,
there's
of course.
no one untouchable.
I'm not arguing that
by definition. But I'm saying like in a more realistic world,
right?
I would say the untouchables for Chicago are Bedard, Levchinov, and Renzelle.
Mm-hmm.
I would listen on anybody else.
Sure, I agree. Yeah, I might
maybe a little bit.
I might throw Nazar in there, but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not trading Sam Rinzel.
All right. Next. This from Secret Azenman. Why are the names so hard today? With the White Sox and Bulls City Connect collaboration, given the Hawks have a similar color palette to the Bulls, is there another team or color scheme you'd like to see the Hawks incorporate for a sweater? Remember when they wore those Chicago flag style
in the warm-ups?
Shirts and warm-ups? Those were awesome.
I would do the Chicago flag as a color scheme for sure.
That would be the one I would do.
I'd have the light blue on the pants. I'd have it be like similar to those warm-ups from a few years ago, where it's a white jersey and then you use the red and the blue on the pant. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. That would be my City Connect.
Any other would a Bears Hawks jersey look cool?
It'd
just be the Oilers,
navy
basically.
Blue, it'd be like what the Oilers had for a little bit with their. Well, they changed their color scheme to that navy blue and orange. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah,
I don't think it would jump off the page as much. But yeah, I think the city flag colors would be my.
I just found this
alternative
Chicago flag one. If you can throw it in there, Katie. I know I'm throwing a lot at you in real time. I'm challenging Katie today, and I know she's going to come through.
They've done White Sox. They've done the black and white.
By the way, those Bulls Sox ones are growing on me a little bit. When I saw like the leaks of it, I'm like, those look really. They look like they're from Champ Sports. But now that I see them all put together, they're less bad.
Yeah.
Here are the Chicago flag warm-ups the Hawks wore.
Yeah,
those are real cool.
I like those.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that would be what I would go back to. So not teams. I guess you could equate that with the Cubs, but not really.
The Red Stars.
Chicago. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, same as the Red Stars. Exactly. All right, next up. I like these quick ones.
Well, we have like 15 of them to get through. So.
Beautiful. We'll plow right through them.
Maticus.
I can read that one. I've always wondered how it works when an NHL team changes its AHL affiliate. For example, I'm sure Norfolk and Rockford didn't swap rosters when the Hawks changed their affiliate. However, did that mean the Hawks got to reach down into Norfolk for their players there until they get them up to the NHL?
Well, in that specific scenario, the Ice Hogs were in 2007 a UHL team that was then purchased and then signed an affiliation agreement with the Blackhawks. So a new ownership took over the Ice Hogs, got the affiliation agreement with the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks had an affiliation with the Norfolk Admirals, who then became, once their agreement was going to come to an end, they got into an agreement with, I believe it was Tampa Bay, with the Norfolk Admirals.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So then the Ice Hogs joined the AHL. So all the players that were on their UHL team, their last UHL team, which actually won the Colonial Cup in 2007, they didn't come over. The Norfolk Admirals, which included Troy Brower, Dave Bolin, at the time, amongst others, then became that next year's first AHL group of Ice Hogs, that 07-08 Ice Hogs team.
Yeah, so the players that are property of the organization, I hate that word, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
will move as the affiliation moves.
Yeah.
We've
seen, and you look at the Chicago Wolves, who have bounced from, the Blues to the Canucks to Carolina to Vegas, back to Carolina, and so the changeover in roster of the Wolves is just determined by who they're affiliated with.
Yep.
So yeah, it's if the Ice Hogs, if the Blackhawks went with a different team, whoever's on the Ice Hogs this season would be on that new team next season.
Right. All right.
It's interesting though.
It's kind of crazy from a player perspective.
Yeah. Right.
All right. What do we got next?
Move from Norfolk to Rockford.
Big Len. Did we do this one yesterday? I think we did this.
We did this one yesterday with the offensive power play.
Well, he's distracted by the Bears.
Gosh darn it.
Here's
a good one.
All right, here's Hosa Hawk. Mailbag question. Under Luke, we played a 1-2-2 system. Under Anders, we played a 2-1-2 system. I often chuckle when I hear Sorensen say he doesn't want to overwhelm new players with our system. Other than our 2-1-2 system and Fliggy's identity, what other aspects are there with our on-ice system when interviewing a new coach? I think that a lot is made of systems. They're very basic. They're played at all levels. Are you looking for an offensive-minded system, 2-1-2, or defensive-minded 1-2-2? For example, there's others. I think what the Hawks need to focus in on here is, how does this person develop players? How does this person communicate? How does this person hold players accountable? For me, this hire is more about personality and roster management than it is about X's and O's. I think that players get traded all the time and enter new organizations and new systems pretty seamlessly. Players can adapt pretty well. I need a guy who is going to be able to communicate what they're coaching more clearly. And I think Sorensen did get some praise for that at the end of the year. And Foligno, as was mentioned in the question, was one of the guys that pointed out, like, look, it's very difficult to come in the middle of a season that's going poorly with unhappy players in the locker room and redo the whole thing on the fly. And then a bunch of those guys leave, a bunch of young guys come up. You kind of have to do it again.
Right.
I want someone that the players are going to respect and listen to and take instruction from. I don't want any point where this coach is going to say something and the players are going to say, what is he talking about? What is going on here? And I think there have been some whispers about that with some of the Hawks assistants this year. For what it's worth, there were some unhappy people with some of the things the assistants were coaching. But I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to get a source in trouble. But it's important that when you sit down in front of these players, you're able to communicate your message to a point where they believe in you, and you're doing it with confidence, and you can explain to them, here's what we're doing and here's why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is most important.
Yeah, when you're changing a system, the change has to yield results that you can believe in.
Right.
And I think for this group and for the head coaching search, it's more or less evaluating what you have and what works with what you have. I think we mentioned Jeremy Colleton, I think it was either Monday or yesterday's show, one of the two.
Yeah.
He came in, he had his system, and he said, this is what we're running, and I'm not adjusting it. Man-on-man defense with Brent Seabrook back there. Have fun with that.
Connor Murphy back there.
And Connor Murphy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to adapt to what the players you're given. And I think with this group that's coming up and the guys that we saw this season, the identity that Kyle Davidson has said that he wants to have and to play fast, we're seeing that speed injected into the roster. So you got to have a coach that knows how to coach a fast team, be able to get the most out of those types of players to find the on ice success. So you have to have a coach that's going to be adaptable and be able to also communicate with players and be able to understand that it's a different NHL. And I think some of the coaches that have been fired just this at the end of this season, some of them have shown the inability to adapt. So they get the game passes them by.
I mean, and it's not just adapting your system. It's John Tortorella saying, I'm not interested in coaching a team like this. So the Flyers said, okay, then we'll accommodate you.
Yeah, you don't have to coach this team
If
anymore.
you don't want to coach this team anymore, you don't have to. Perfect. Yeah. Goodbye. Rick Tocchet, kind of similar. Like the reports today are that there was the offer Vancouver made him would have made him one of the highest paid coaches in Vancouver, and they wanted him back, and he was just like, no, I'm good.
I'd rather not deal with this again.
If you're not interested, that's the thing. You want someone who wants to be here. And again, like we're talking about 1-2-2 versus 2-1-2, etc. The teaching comes in how to best utilize those systems, right?
Right.
You've got a player like Connor Bedard, who I think we all agree is the most important player in the organization. How can he thrive in that system? And the way he plays, where he kind of goes all over the ice and creates offense and everyone kind of has to adapt. How does that happen? How does the other four guys on the ice adapt when you've got a player like Bedard playing in the 2-1-2 versus when it's Landon Slaggert and Ilya Mikheyev and Tyler Bertuzzi, whatever it might be.
Right.
The more north and south guys are going to play it in a more, by the book structure. When you get the more offensive minded guys out there, it's going to look a little different. So how do you play within that? That's the sort of stuff that coaches need to communicate and communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Next.
G Bubs.
Oh God.
What is your favorite line from Slapshot, at least, that you can say on the show? Oh, there's many.
There's not a lot you can say on the show anymore.
I mean the trade me right effing now is a great one.
Yes.
I love the opening scene where it's like we like to go over the finer things about hockey. It's just just so many iconic things.
Pretty much every line from Jim Carr in that show is great.
It's so good.
The one we use for our mailbag,
Yeah.
keep your questions within the boundaries of good taste, is one of my favorites too, because it's so subtle.
Yeah.
It's good. I
like the you go to the penalty box and you feel shame. I love that one.
Yes.
Man. Reggie Dunlop going Scouts. I always use that.
Just
one.
that one line. Yeah.
I always think of that one.
Yeah, all my favorites are not for YouTube.
And not safe for work.
And not for anything made in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
probably.
also not societally
they brought
transferable.
Their effing toys with them.
putting on the foil
Yes.
is classic. Yeah, it's a man. I might need to go watch that tonight.
All right. I guess I could fire up for the 900th
That's good
time.
stuff. Yeah.
Good question. Ask me over a beer.
Yeah.
All right. This from P3 Arizona. This is long.
Oh, this is a long one.
With the salary cap going up, it is a little more difficult to determine which high-profile free agents could be available. It might be time to revise how we explore how awesome this summer will be. Which teams massively underperformed this year, and you anticipate their GMs pressing the panic button, inviting Kyle Davidson to work some magic? Some notable mentions: will it be the Canucks, the Red Wings, the Nashville Predators, the Rangers or Islanders? Others not mentioned. Which of these teams would you like to see Kyle Davidson do business with, and who would you like to see him target? Please don't interpret this as a let's go get Patrick Kane back question. Thanks so much for your great show. Thank you, P3 Arizona. Some of the teams you mentioned are the ones, as I was reading it, that popped into mind. Vancouver, Nashville, I think the Islanders for sure, especially with Lou Lamoriello out.
Right.
They might be looking for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they want to trade Matthew Barzal, but that's the guy Connor Bedard said he'd most like to play with.
Yeah, and he's a guy that would fit the timeline and fit the style of how this team wants to play. He's a fast guy, and he's never been a big, like, outstanding point producer, but it's because the Islanders have never historically played that style of hockey. They've done it more under Patrick Roy, but don't think Patrick Roy might be on the way out too with Lamoriello.
Yeah, that seems unclear at this point.
So who knows with that? But
Barzal is signed at 9.15 through 2030-31.
So you have cost control.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 years left on that deal.
You have cost control with that.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely would be one.
Not the healthiest guy in the world.
I saw someone, I think it was in the Discord, floated the idea of Mika Zibanejad from the Rangers. If that's someone that they're maybe wanting to shake up the culture of the Rangers in, I don't know. I'm not like over the moon for it, but I'm also not gonna say he's a bum,
no,
or anything like that.
I mean, if someone's selling low on Elias Pettersson, I'm down with that.
Yeah,
Anders Lee is a guy who's wanted to play here before. His wife's from around here.
Maybe
Notre Dame guy. He's got 2 years left at $7 million. Actually, just 1 year left at $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a UFA after next year. So that could be a spot filler until I think the 2026 free agent class has a few more players.
Connor McDavid.
Well, yes, of course. We all know he's going to be a Hawk.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some good ones in there. Predators, I don't feel like are blowing things up. I think this year was supposed to be way better than it ended up being, and they invested a lot in Stamkos and Marchessault and everything. So I think that they're probably going to ride that out at least another season. I'm open to the Blackhawks getting creative. That's for sure.
Yeah, the 2026 free agent class, and again, just like this one, we were thinking there'd be a lot more guys than there actually are. But you don't want Malkin, you don't want Kopitar. Michael Backlund's old, but there's a lot of good players on that list. Jack Eichel, I mean, he's going to go back to Vegas. You'd imagine.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Nick Schmaltz, meh. Charlie Coyle, old. There's a lot of the guys on the list are older, but there's more names.
I don't see the Blackhawks necessarily diving into free agency all that much beyond this summer and next summer. I think Davidson's philosophy, now obviously on ice production and everything can completely change that.
Yeah.
But I think Davidson's probably looking at the young players that have come in and the second wave, I would say, that's kind of like, your guys like Nick Lardis, Boisvert, like I think Spellacy, I think these guys that would be coming up to the pro game and maybe the NHL in by the end of next season or the season after that, I'm not certain that they're going to be diving into free agency all that much. I think there's going to be a lot of belief in the young group. Obviously, the way that they develop over the next 2 or 3 years is going to dictate how they actually, pan out. But I think I think if things go to the way Kyle Davidson has set up his plan, is that they're going to have a lot of their guys fill those spots, and it might be piecemeal free agents or smaller trades. But I think the goal and the plan is probably still to be a team that gets out of the rebuild through the drafted and developed players.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But we'll see.
So I'm looking on here at the 2004 draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where the Hawks took Cam Barker.
Yes.
Ovechkin, Malkin, Barker.
This is a bit of a drop off.
Ladd, Wheeler. Those are your big names at the top. If the Hawks took, let's just say Andrew Ladd instead of Cam Barker, or Blake Wheeler instead of Cam Barker, and that number 3 pick turns into a star player like it should, do they ever go get Marian Hossa? The need is probably not there, right? If you're looking at
it's different.
We've got an elite forward ready to go here. You don't have to go get that free agent. Now the question is, you're pretty certain Bedard's going to be beyond a point per game producer at some point here. I think probably next season. We'll see. You feel good about what you've seen from Nazar. You're probably going to get a forward in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Misa, Martone, whoever it might be. If that turns into another point per game kind of a player, maybe you don't need to go break the bank on several high impact free agents, because you're going to have to sign all these guys too.
Right.
At some point.
And that's the other thing. Within a 2 or 3 year window, you're going to be having a bunch of new contracts, second contracts and stuff like that. So that's why I was saying, I feel like beyond this summer and maybe next summer too, I don't know if that's going to be the avenue they go. So if you land the big fish this summer, if it is Marner,
that might be
that might be your big splash, and then the group, falls in to place from there. If it's not Marner, maybe it's Besser and Ehlers, and then you have those guys like Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Besser, Ehlers, and then you fill it with Bedard, Nazar, Moore, and all these guys moving forward.
People are talking about Roman
Kanserov as well. Yeah, there's
who knows,
there's a lot.
You might get it. Whoever the Toronto pick is this year could pan out to be a top 6. You have no idea, but it's a little different from a dynasty where you're getting so many high picks year after year after year after year. Now you got Barker, Kane, and Taves. 3-2-1 or 3-3-1, right? Taves was third.
Barker in 2004.
Yeah.
Was third. Then they did Jack Skilly in 2005 was 7th, I think. And then Taves was third in 2006, and then Kane was
and 1. Yeah, so and if Jack Skilly pans into anything.
Yeah.
Barker and Skilly are huge misses.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes into it. If every draft pick hits, every team would be a Stanley Cup champion, of course.
That'd be great.
But I think if you have a higher than 50% shot at hitting on most of these guys, if more than half of your picks hit for what their potential is supposed to be, you really can set yourself up really well through the scouting and development process. So, I think, and as you said, if you get a top forward this year, whether it's Misa or Frondel or Martone or Desnoyers. Like there's a guy that if they hit their potential is in your top 6 for the next decade. Like that really could be, the way out of it. You look at the Hawks in the Cup years, beyond Hossa, like they didn't have a big splash free agent. They didn't have a huge trade acquisition. They did smaller deadline deals.
Right.
They did smaller free agents because it was those guys that they had drafted and developed alongside Hossa, and you struck gold with the Sharp trade. But beyond that, it was, those smaller moves. Can we get one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Did we get through all our Discords? Sweet.
Way to go, Discordians.
Let's hit the Twitters. On an elevator ride with Kyle Davidson, which I've had before, he asked you for 7 words to define this offseason. What are they?
Go sign.
Get.
Go acquire.
Mitch Marner. Right effing now.
Go
7.
Acquire a top 6 winger. 7.
There you go. Yeah.
Winger.
Perfect.
I think he knows.
Yeah, we're not going to tell him anything he doesn't know.
Yes, I think he knows what this team needs. I think it's, I don't know. That's why we were talking about this the other day, like the David Carl thing. You're like, man, the Hawks usually get what they want. This sucks. I'm not used to this. Oh, well.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's the next thing is the coach. And he said he wants to get it in before the draft.
Yeah.
I know he operates under lock and key. There's not a lot of, the Hawks are talking to this guy or that guy, but holy cow. Like,
I imagine.
Let's get some names here.
Yeah. I imagine like they did with Richardson, they will, as soon as there's any kind of, leaks of like, we know the Blackhawks are going to interview this coach or whatever, they'll probably get ahead of it and be like, here's our list of coaching candidates. And we'll get a number of names, and then we'll actually be able to be like, oh, if it's these people, who makes the most sense out of this group? Because right now it could be 100 people.
Right.
So
we're going to find out.
We'll see.
Soon, ?
Hopefully.
We are going to find out, though, where the Hawks pick on Monday the 5th, so don't miss our show. We'll get a time. We don't have a set time yet. We'll let you know when that's going to be, but as soon as that draft lottery is being done, we'll be on the air, and then a show after. But we're here still here the rest of the week as well, so join us at 2 o'clock tomorrow, right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.